XRP solves a multi-trillion-dollar problem with the world and banking. We are going to get into some details around XRP, Visa, and Ripple. We're also going to talk about Ripple's infrastructure and how it all works. There's going to be a lot of really good information, so let's go ahead and get into this. Ripple's payments and Ripple's software technology is designed as the fundament, the settlement infrastructure for the new financial system. Let me play this so we can see how this works.
So at the very top of the payment stack, we have application layers like PayPal, Stripe, Square, applications, technologies that interface with consumers and businesses looking to execute a transaction. Below that, we have banks, the institutions that custody the assets themselves. Moving below that, we start to look at the core interbank infrastructure, rule sets around business continuity, safety and soundness, regulatory compliance. Below that, we have messaging standards, so we can think about SWIFT codes, ACH payment messages, Visa messages. And finally, below that, we have a settlement infrastructure, which is operated primarily by the central banks domestically and correspondent banks internationally. So where Ripple fits today in the existing payment stack is at the bottom.
Okay, banks are using a 50-year-old technology to move money around the planet. It's slow, it's costly, it's ineffective. Smaller banks have to pay bigger banks money to use those rails, and everybody loses in this. The customer loses, the banks lose. The only people that get ahead, or the companies that get ahead, are the larger banks like your Chase, HSBC, Citibank. They move so much money that smaller banks come to them to help with some of these more exotic rails. We also have this great diagram. This is actually an older diagram, but it fits to what we're talking about here. So you see all of these different currencies. The Japanese yen, US dollar, Great British pound, Chinese, I think CNY is, I could be wrong there, so don't shoot me. But the Brazilian real, euro, there's all these different currencies. And what these currencies need is a settlement asset in between all of this to happen, okay? When you're talking about the US dollar not being the world reserve currency, well, what are you going to use instead? But the problem is, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they all don't really trust each other's currency. If you take a look in the world right now and what's going on in China, what's going on in Brazil or Russia, these currencies are not very valuable, right? And they fluctuate majorly. And if you are holding these assets, you don't want your balance fluctuating rapidly. So you need an asset that is going to be steady at a higher price, and this is what we believe XRP is going to get to eventually here. So let's play this. Given the partnership between Visa and Ripple, why do you never get rid of the feeling that leaders are talking about Ripple, the leading software company for cross-border payments? Let's play this. And then there's a diagram I will show you in a second.
At the average cost for a mid-tier bank of producing one cross-border payment is around $25 to $30. In order to derive at that cost, you probably have a couple of corridors where you are very efficient of a few dollars per payment, but you then have 20% of your payments where you're paying $200 to $300 per payment. And this is not obvious for many banks. And that's the place to start, where you can really make a significant improvement of your current business. And you can also scale to many more currencies at a very low marginal cost level. So that would be one example of an easy win.
So where did Ripple pretty much go ahead and start here, right? They mastered payments, and they went into these exotic corridors, these more exotic countries that are harder to get money in and out of. And they built all the corridors. Right now, Ripple covers about 90% of the FX market too. They are there. They can use these rails, and that's what's really important here. Nadi, one of those partnerships I was just telling you about. Thailand announced its plans to join the BRICS Alliance. Nadi Group, a leading fintech that enables businesses to pay and be paid, and have already partnered with Ripple to expand into Thailand. And so let's just look at the highlights here. I won't bring this whole thing to you, but Nadi Ripple partnership expands into Thailand. Nadi's partnership with Ripple has now expanded into Thailand and is generating revenue. It follows the momentum of Nadi tapping Ripple's Net's on-demand liquidity service for remittances between Australia and the Philippines in April this year. Again, it highlights Nadi's ability to monetize the existing ecosystem in new markets. Discussion underway to launch in additional markets across Southeast Asia. That's what we like to hear. Also, there's a great clip from Brad Garlinghouse. Let me play this. Thank you, Alex Cobb, for posting this.
One of the first banks that Ripple signed. So today we have a product in market that we're releasing version 4. When we launched version 1.0, which is always an exciting time for a tech company, you release a product, it's version 1.0. We launched that product, we were partnered with one of the largest banks in the Middle East, and we went to market and we went live. And we had a call from a very upset Middle Eastern banker saying, wait a minute, people can see my transactions. I don't want people to see my transactions. So look, blockchain is powerful and a public ledger can be leveraged to make transactions. But banks, I mean, if every SCB transaction was written to a public ledger, would FB be excited about that? The answer is no, I'll tell you very certainly. The nature of how we have evolved our technology, yes, some of it, XRP is a public open ledger. A different part of Ripple's technology that connects banks to the liquidity solutions, these are private, think almost as a private temporary blockchain between two banks. It's cryptographically signing the transaction, holding it in escrow and releasing it at the same time. So you never have a situation where a transaction doesn't complete. But the point I would make is, those who espouse this idea of, look.
Hold on really quickly. The reason Brad just said that, if you want some context, is it's like 3 or 5% of all international payments end up failing. Payments in general end up failing. And this costs banks billions of dollars a year combined. And to solve that problem is what Brad was just talking about here. You never have an issue where the payment doesn't go through, just to give you that context.
All transactions should be open. I look at that and I think, that is not the real world. We can talk about the origins, particularly around Bitcoin and to some of the degree other tokens, has been this idea of, hey, we're going to circumvent governments. We don't want the government involved. We're going to circumvent banks. Look, Ripple, we come at it from exactly the opposite point of view. Governments aren't going away. By extension, banks are definitely not going away.
True.
We can enable banks to enable an internet of value. If you want to enable an internet of value, you have to connect the repositories of value. The repositories of value are the banks. We want to work with the banks, with financial institutions, with payment providers, with Linlin Pay or PayPal or fill in blank, to dramatically accelerate the nature of how payments occur today and reducing that friction.
If you want to be the biggest player in the world in the blockchain space, you have to work with banks and central banks, right? That's where all the money is. Let's be honest here. Institutions, your BlackRocks, your Fidelities, your Invescos, your VanEck, that's where a lot of people's money are. And if you can build these solutions and central banks and banks can come in and use these solutions for a dramatically lower fee than what they're paying now, do you think they're going to want to adopt that technology? Or they're going to say, you know what, I like paying a way too much money for these payments and I like them taking a few days to settle, right? Swift is having to speed up everything that they're doing because blockchain is going to price them out, right? You see Swift moving to like settlement T+1. They're trying to get down to same day. Some of their payments are same day, but instant payments is where it's at, and Swift still comes with a costly fee. Crypto Barbie posted this, and this is what the XRP chart looked like in 2012, 2016, and 2020. Now, what I feel like is the court case has taken a lot of the community's positive things about Ripple and XRP, and I feel like we've been waiting for years, and it sickens me that the SEC goes after Ripple but leaves Ethereum alone, right? It frustrates me to see that they give Ethereum a free pass, approve the Ethereum ETF. Why this Ripple case is still going? It just frustrates the hell out of me. If it frustrates you, if you have a comment about it, please let me know in the comments. I love to hear them. Swiss central bank to buy Bitcoin. Now, this is a really, really big thing because when you have a central bank going out and buying a cryptocurrency to hold, that is what we're trying to get to. Imagine how much buying power the retail customer has, right? Imagine how much buying power the Swiss central bank has. I'd say they have a lot, as well as all of the central banks in the world. Imagine if they started adding Bitcoin, XRP, I was going to say Ethereum, Solana, right? Imagine when they start adding these assets to hold in baskets. That's what we want. That's what we want. We want the banks. We want to front run the banks, right? Or the central banks. That's how everybody here gets wealthy. That's what we're trying to do. Let me play this.
Switzerland is the most advanced crypto country on the planet. And the people of Switzerland want that the central bank buys Bitcoin and puts it on the balance sheet. Why the heck would they want that? Having Bitcoin on your balance sheet as a central bank gives you monetary sovereignty, meaning you don't depend on the other world superpowers and their currencies to dictate how you have to manage your economy, manage your monetary policy. This is a very smart move. If the Swiss National Bank would actually put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, they would make some very decent profits for the people of Switzerland.
I speak English and it's hard for me to talk sometimes. So this guy did a great job getting all of that information through. Let me know what you think down in the comments about the Swiss central bank buying Bitcoin. And do you think XRP is going to be on that list? U.S. banks are conflicted with worries as demand for instant payments grows, reveals Red Compass Labs. So this is just a quick 2 cents here. Across much of the world, instant payments have quickly become the norm. However, the same cannot be said in the U.S. In fact, less than a third of U.S. banks are signed up for either real-time payments, which is RTP, or FedNow, meaning the vast majority of banks cannot offer instant payments as a service. My wife works for a bank here in Honolulu. They have no idea what ISO 20022 is, let alone instant payments. That was shocking to me. I went to a company like event for Christmas, and I was like, are you guys going to be using, crypto? Are you guys, what is the bank's situation on updating to ISO? Crickets. They don't know, it's crazy to me. Now, let me just throw this at you. If you have your money in a bank and that bank refuses to give you the latest and greatest technology for you to be able to transfer money and make your life easier, are you going to stay at that bank? Are you going to keep your money in that bank? Or are you going to go next door where they're saying, hey, we have all of these new great features that you can use to make your life easier? You're going to move. I would move too. All right. XRP solves a multi-trillion-dollar problem. Okay. We're trying to get to a place where all of the world's transactions, right, are happening on blockchain, on DLT. You have your stocks, bonds, derivatives, equities, money market funds, your real estate, right? Tokenizing all of that, bringing it onto certain ledgers. That is where we're trying to get to. And when we get there, well, we are all going to be better off. I hope you learned something. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Aloha.